Okay, Megillus Torah, Megillus Esther, Beit Tzadik Aleph, first column, second paragraph. The class is sponsored by a number of the first million people in memory Leila Nishmas, Yeshua, Eliyahu, Moshe, Josh Bekorsh, and Neshama Shirav and Aliyah. Okay, so he says now, the Alter Rebbe is explaining the concept of why Purim and Halacha are not bottled, and he explains because it's such the Tzarach Amudei Or, 620 pillars that connects heaven and earth. Megillus Esther, Hester, double Hester, and therefore the Gilu is much greater. Halacha comes into Gashmistika things, so the revelation is much greater, and so on. But still, it needs the Sus. It still needs the sus. He quotes the pasuk, Tirkava susecha makveisecha, and he says, he didn't explain it yet, but he says the first 3 hours of the day, Hashem learns Torah, and at night he goes on his quick, like eagle, swift eagle, and he flies. No, he swims. By the way, he swims through 18,000 worlds. Whatever. Now he's explaining. What does that mean? Bir Dvarim. So he says like this. Tiknu Chazal, these two lines we learned. Chazal instituted the 18 brachos of Shemona Esrei corresponding with the Chai and Chulya Shebeshedra, corresponding with the 18 vertebrae of the spine. L'chein ein moving. It's not understood like, what's the connection? So he says, the Inyan is like this. Dine Yashedra, what is the spine? Hamshachas min Amerch al Yerechayim. The spine goes from the head to the bottom of the back, to the thighs, which is Sof Madregas, the end of all levels. So in other words, the spine goes from the top level, the brain, all the way to the bottom. Therefore, in the first bracha of Shemona Esrei, you bow when you say the word Baruch, Shakriyas v'ishtachavois, because this bowing and bending and Kriyas Harosh is the coming down of the head. So when a person bows, right? So what is that? Your head is coming down lower, which represents Chachma coming down to a lower level. And then you say Meidem Anachnu Loch, which is the level of the Heidah. That's the level of Yerech, that's the level of the thighs. Okay, it says like this. In Pasuk Eliyahu you have the Seichel, and then you have Chesed Rei Gemina, Gvura Rei Smala. Chesed is the right hand, Gvura is the left hand. Teferes Gufa. Okay, then you have the Trein Shaken, the two thighs. Right, so that's the level of Heidah Bittul. It comes into that level, Heid. Because Heid is a level of Bittul. What happened? They eat these 18 brachas, Mamshich and Neshama Yisrael, Gimel Pamim B'Yom. This level of the 18 brachas, Shemona Esrei, a Jew says 3 times a day. Right? Shachas Mincha Ma'ariv. Acham Malachim is Man Shirosam B'Layla. Malachim, on the other hand, only say Shira once a day at night. Sha'az Vatit and Teref Levesa. He brought food for the house. And then at night when the malachim daven, so this level of the the 18 brachas comes down into the malachim, and over there it's mischalik l'chai elef eilemis. There it's divided by the malachim's world is divided into 18,000. Kirecha v'lakim b'rebesaim alfei shinam shebeiz alafim. Chotzim mirubasim. Mirubasayim shein chof elef. Okay, now it says like this. You have Ribasayim. Riba is 10,000. Ribasayim is double, so it's 20,000. Then you have Alfei Shinon, that's minus 2. From the 20,000 minus 2, so you have 8 Shenisha Chai Elef. Okay? Whatever, just let's go. And then the sustenance comes into every level. based on its understanding, b'chol chai elf madregas, in each one of the 18,000 levels. In other words, like this. 18,000 levels represents the world. The hashpah comes momaila into the 18,000 levels, whatever, in the various different ways. The hashpah v'amshach zu b'chinas kruv kal shalei, which is serufi aces, shenikra kach b'shem kruv. And how do these hashpahs come? Through the letters. Letters are bringing down, right? You want to bring down a thought, you do it through letters. You want to bring down, reveal an emotion, it's through letters. So this word kruv, that Hashem flies to the 18,000 worlds, that's the level of kruv, the letters chaf, reish, vav, beis, reveals this level of that aspect.
Any connection to kruvim?
Yeah, it is connected.
Kruv.
If I'm not mistaken, this level of kruv, the vav I don't know, but it's interesting. Kruv, chaf, is double in the tens, reish is double of the hundreds, and beis is the double of the ones. You have ones, tens, and hundreds, right? So chaf, reish, beis, I don't know, the vav I don't know. I don't know, whatever. But I'm just saying it's interesting. The 202 is tens, double of tens, ones, tens, and hundreds.
What were you saying before about...
I don't know. Trust me, I don't know what I'm talking about.
No, you said about height, which is the level of bittul. What is that? So that represents Aaron or Moshe?
No. Height is the two thighs.
Right.
Netzach and train shaken. Okay. So Netzach and height are the two thighs. Right. Height is haidah, bittul. That's in the thigh. The Rebbe is explaining over here that the spine goes from the chokhmah into the thighs, which is the level of height, which is haidah, which is bittul. So the chokhmah comes down into the level of bittul.
That represents Aaron and Moshe because when they're in the spheres.
What the?
No,
I don't know. Who cares? Okay. We're not learning about Aaron and Moshe now. Which one's which? And then it says, Adnei v'amsine b'akesh klaimet. Shekmei shenim shechshefa v'gilui. V'gitiru v'eitzit v'amshachas b'malochim. Just like into the malachim, there is this revealed godliness through the letters. Kachnim shebechinas sinei b'akesh. The same thing in the level of Sinai. Heim tziruf v'eitzit v'amshachas gilir. And so mamish b'teira, mamish shenditna bar Sinai. Okay, so what is the level of Adnei Vamsina B'Kodesh? It says, just like the Malachim, their Gili of Elokus comes through letters. Any Amshach has come in a limited form. That's the concept of letters. So just like the Malachim get their Gilui through letters, so Torah comes down through words. Like we learned, there's a level of Torah which is Chochmah. There's a level of Torah which is Tainug, Hashem's toy. Then Torah is not coming into letters. There's the essence of Torah which is above letters. Then that comes down into the lower levels. The Gam Achad Yeridus Moshe min Ahar. Therefore, even after Moshe Rabbeinu came down from the mountain, it says also to build a Mishkan. The Gashmis, in other words, like this. Matan Torah was this phenomenal Gilui of Elokus. Okay, then right after Matan Torah, after Yom Kippur, according to Rashi at least, then Hashem told him to build a Mishkan. What's the purpose of Mishkan? Matan Torah was the revelation of Elokus coming down. Hashem al Har Sinai. Hashem came down to Gashmis. But in order to keep Hashem there, Matan Torah left her, finished. So Hashem said, you have to build me a Mishkan. Now this Mishkan, which is keeping Elokus, is dafkin gashmistika things. Zav, Chesed, Neshechet, Necheshes, Yiriyas, the Kroshim, the boards, the curtains, it all comes down. And that's what it says, Tir Kaval Susach, Shamshach. Remember that Rebbe said before, the word Sus represents letters. Shekach Elul is Gilu Rav. this great revelation to be called Susim, which is Surufi Aisius, so that's called Susim. Sheyesh Aisius, Shenikra B'Shem Susim, there are certain letters, okay, whatever, he says like this, there are certain letters that are called Susim, and certain letters that are called Kruv. Okay, because we see both things are representing the revelations of Elokus through letters. He says, because a lot of letters, there's Aisius HaDibur, Aisius HaSeichel, Aisius HaMachshava, there's letters in thought, right? There's letters in speech. There's letters in Seichel. Then he says, even Kadmas HaSeichel Yeshbech, there's an expression in Kabbalah, HaNefesh Meleah Aisius. The Nefesh is full of Aisius. Now those are very untangible levels of letters. You can have spoken letters, okay, you have even more. You can have written letters. You write a letter, yeah? That's already in a Gashmiistic thing. Then you have less Gashmias is spoken letters. But spoken letters could be recorded, they could be measured, they could be, but it's still less Gashmias than written letters. Then you have thinking letters. You think everybody thinks in their language. So that's much more refined. You can't measure those letters. You can't tape those letters. Then you have even a higher level of Seichel. Seichel, before you come to Machshava, there's already letters there. Then you have in the Nefesh itself. So some are called Susim, some are called Kruv. Bottom line is, all these letters are the source of Elokus coming down into the world. The more tangible the letters are, like the Mishkan, the Gashmiistic things, there's a greater level of Elokus. And in order for that level of Elokus to come down all the way down, 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 it has to come from a level of up, 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 up. So therefore the greatest Giluyim, Dafka come down into Gashmias. That's why Matan Torah was in Gashmias. Mishkan was in Gashmias. Everything is in Gashmias. Because that is the highest level. And that's what Dr. Rebbe is explaining over here. There's Levush Malchus. But in order to have these great Giluyim of Esther and Halacha, what he said, you need the level of Sus, meaning you need the level of letters to bring it down. With all these Kabbalah stuff, to simplify it, because I don't know what I'm talking about either now. But it comes down through the letters of letters. So even though there's Yavil Levush Malchus, and you have Nitan Kesem Malchus B'Reishei, but where did they take this guy on walking through the city? On a horse. Because that level had to come down even into Shushan, even the level of Haman, the ultimate level of Klippa, is taking this guy, Mordechai, ultimate Kedusha, for a walk in Shushan.
So there was no Purim for a Mishkan, but Torah was not finished. So that's the.
With all due respect, no. Because Matan Torah is continuous. Neisin HaTorah. Every minute is Matan Torah.
But in the Gashmit of here, it's not
Yeah, if there wouldn't be Matan Torah, and if there wouldn't be a world, and if there wouldn't be Mishkan, what are you asking? If there wouldn't be, but there is.
So the same way that you have different kind of letters, is coming down into the speech, which is the most revealed. So the same way,
Who's on?
You need a Mishnah to contain the Kedusha.
Correct. But what contained the Kedusha? Gashmiistic things. Okay. Because of the greatness of the Gilui, can it come down lower into Gashmi.
So anytime you say Gilu, you have to do something to contain it.
When the Rebbe used to talk about a Maisa Hu Iker. Why is action the primary thing? Why?
Because it's the lowest.
Because number one, it's a physical world. Okay? But the truth of the matter is, any intellectual aspect or feeling Okay, if you love somebody, yeah? How do you manifest that love? When you do practical, simple, day-to-day things. Not once a year, birthday, anniversary, or you'd say, I love you in my heart. I mean, that doesn't, dafka when it, seichel, by the way, the greatness of seichel is not when it remains in seichel. Because then it's not coming all the way down. If it's emes, it goes all over the place. The maila adin ketz, or the mata adin tachlis. So in order to, that's why the concept dira b'tachtenim. Dira, latzmus say to the essence, all the way down. So it has to come into maisa. Because if it stays in machshava or dibur, it's not showing the authenticity of it, the reality of it, that it's real. And that's why Torah mitzvahs dafka come to Gashmias.
So if there's a nisim or decline for somebody, he has to continue doing something. Tzedakah or tefillah, some kind of action.
Yeah, in the Rebbe's Sichas many times it says anything that happens has to come down in the physical, Gashmias take away. You have to be mata masar tvachim. Gashmias. You want Hashem's brachas to stay up there? Or you want the brachas to come down? You know? So a person's action has to come down in ultimate action. Zeu in Yinsus HaShirochav, second column. Zeu in Yinsus HaShirochav Olav HaMelech. The horse of the king Rosh Hashanah is Gil Bechinas Levush Malchus V'Chesed Malchus. In order to have the revelation of Levush Malchus, which is mitzvahs. And Kesed Malchus, like he said, is the Torah mitzvahs. Tzarech Yisayidei Bechinas Sus. It has to come down through the letter of Sus, meaning through letters, change through V'Eises Amshachas, which is the levels down L'Hamshach Gili Earning Tzav Baruch Hu Lamata Kamei L'Mayla. By the way, it's interesting. It could be, and this is my own brainstorm, why is Sus letters? Why does Sus represent letters? Because the Samach is Makif, and the Vav is bringing it down. Could be, I don't know. Probably, you're not allowed to do these things. You're not allowed to say your own things as to this. But if you think it's Sus, it's a Makif from both sides, and Amshach in the middle. Could be, I don't know. All these levels of the highest level of Kesed Malchus and Levush Malchus and doing this Galu Gam Purim B'mei Mordechai. Just like these great revelations of Matan Torah, they became revealed again in Mordechai's time. Okay? They only began Shematan Torah Amru Nasiv and Ishma, which is the level of Bittul Otzim. Again, now the Rebbe is just saying like this. Purim finalized Matan Torah. Yeah? Matan Torah, they said Nasav and Ishma. But they didn't do anything yet. Where was the Mesiras Nefesh for Torah mitzvahs? When did that level come down into a practical level of Mesiras Nefesh? In the days of Mordechai. B'mei Mordechai v'as Mesiras Nefesh mamash al Kiddush Hashem. And here is interesting, the Alter Rebbe says, Haman lo'irotze lager ele Yehudim. This is a big chiddush of the Alter Rebbe. Normally it says that Chanukah was a decree against the neshama, and Purim was a decree against the goof, right? But the Alter Rebbe, in a few places in Torah, here he says it also, that Haman lo'irotze lager ele Yehudim. Haman wanted to kill the Yehudim. Who are Yehudim? The Gemara says, Kol ha'keifa ba'akum nikra Yehudi. That means, now the Rebbe says in different places in Torah, that if the Jews would have given in to Avodah Zarah, Haman wouldn't have destroyed them. Therefore, it says a deeper meaning. Why Mordechai was called Ish Yehudi, even though he came from Shevet Binyamin. The Gemara asks the question in Megillah, Well, the pasuk Ish Yehudi, which means simply he was from Yehuda. And then we know when he came from Binyamin. Ish Shemini, he came from Binyamin. Okay, there's a lot of answers. He was Yehudi because he was Kaifa B'Avodah Zarah, you know this. Here the Alter Rebbe says, even the Kohen Levim Shebei even the Kohenim and Levim of that generation were also called Yehudim. Then obviously they didn't come for Shevet Yehuda. Why? Because what does Yehudi mean? Haidah, Betel. Where the Yud means continuous. Haidah, Yehudi. Yud is constant. Das Machmes Mesidus Nefesh Zu. Zachali is Gila begins Vush Malchus. V'chesem Malchus. V'sus HaSherach of Olav HaMelech. So he says, why did the Alter Rebbe explain this pasuk that it represents the highest Giluyim of Elokus, up all the way up there, and they came down. So there, Alter Rebbe, why would they merit it at this level in Bimei Mordechai? Because Mordechai was the bringing into actuality through Mesidus Nefesh, which is the ultimate level, into a Gashmistic world. By Matan Torah was, they said, Nasiv and Ishra. Okay, it was great. Bittul to the Baal HaRatzon, you know, great. But there was no Mesidus Nefesh in those days. In Moshe Rabbeinu's day after Matan Torah, what did Mesidus? They didn't have steak to eat. Okay, so he says now, but now the problem is like this. Who took the Levush and the Sus? Haman. We're talking about this Levush and Sus and the Kesema, the highest of levels, and yet who was the one that took it? So he says, where did Haman get Sus to bring down these levels? There was a Rav in Pinsk. His name was Avigdor. He was one of the guys that got out Rebbe into prison, Yutas Kislev. In the Yutas Kislev story, he was the one that snitched to the government. Anyway, so after Yutas Kislev, and the Chassidim would, celebrate Yutas Kislev, Avigdor would come and he would tell the Chassidim, "You got to thank me for the holiday. If I didn't get out Rebbe in prison, you wouldn't have this holiday. So you have to thank me, So the Rebbe is saying, where in the world does someone get this? So he says, another interesting thing. The Gemara also, remember the Gemara asked Mordechai min Atayra Minai and Esther, where do we see Mordechai and Esther? The Gemara said, Haman min Atayra Minai. Where do we see Haman? And the Gemara answers, Hamin ha'etz. After Adam and Chava ate from the tree, so Hashem came and he asked him, Hamin ha'etz. Did I command you not to eat achalta? Right? So that means Haman is connected to the Eitz Das. Now, in the Ksiv Reish is Goyim Amalek. It says Amalek is the head of all nations. Shekol ha'akum heim b'chinas Eitz Das tevera. All the Goyim, the 7 nations in that, come at the level of Eitz Das, which is tevera. Amalek is Reish is Goyim Amalek. Amalek is even higher. Okay? That's why it says, what is Haman alluded to? Hamin or Eitz? It's a question, a wonder. That means it's even higher than the Eitz. Its wonder is above Eitz. Shulamayla b'chinas Eitz. Meaning, so he says, did you eat? I mean, it's a wonder about the tree. But nevertheless, it's still a wonder connected to the tree. Hamin or Eitz. He says, Mikama ke'machad chsiva amin ha'etz, loshin t'miyah, because why are you mentioning Eitz al-Eitz? Why are you mentioning Haman by the tree? So he says, Ach inyan, shu b'chinas makiv lo Eitz, negeya ve'ena negeya. Okay. There's expressions in Kabbalah, motiv, meaning touching, not touching, yet touching, not touching, like ratzav v'shev, yeah? Coming and going. So it's like, coming back, it's like touching, yeah? Not touching, not touching, touching, not touching. Which means like this. but that's the level of chutzpah v'gasus haruach. What is Haman had chutzpah, had Yekevus berosh, he had gasus haruach, right? Haman said to himself, I'm the only one, right? Okay. There's also in Kedusha, just like in Klippa, there's a very lofty level of Klippa, Amalek, which is above all Klippas, right? Reish is going Amalek, higher than the nations. The nations, it says in Kabbalah, Eitz Adas Tevera. Amalek is higher than the tree. Hamina Eitz. So the same thing in Kedusha, you have a Haman after it's refined. Because it says in the Gemara, Mibnei Banav Shel Haman Lamdo Teira Berabim. The Gemara says that Haman's grandchildren taught Torah publicly.
Haman's grandchildren?
Yeah.
So he's actually...
Lamdo Teira, but Bnei Brak, it says in other places. Here it says...
Whatever is in Truma is actually...
That's what he's saying. So you have the ultimate level of Klippa, Haman, Amalek, and then you have the ultimate level of Kedusha, the Hisapcha, the transformation of Klippa to Kedusha, that what happened from Haman? His kids taught Torah B'Rabbim.
Who was that?
Who?
Who were his kids?
What are their names? I don't know. Tom, Dick, and Harry. I don't know. No, but Bnei Banim, it doesn't mean Haman's God's sons were hanged. I was corrected. Hanged. Well, according to the Medrash, Reif Banav, he had 202 kids. But 10 of them were the main ones. The Reif Banav, so there's a Medrash that says Reif Banav, Reish Beis Banav. He had 202 kids. I don't know if it's from one wife, 10 wives, 100 wives, who knows? In those days, you didn't know anything. So, but in other words, just like Bilam, the greatest brachas we have, Matay V'Alecha Yaakov, Dorach Kechav Yaakov speaks about Mashiach. All those brachas in Bilam, that means the transformation of Bilam to Kedusha. And like the Rebbe explains, why is a Parshan Torah called Balak? After a Goya Rasha? Meli Yisrael converted, was a great man. Korach was still a Jew. Balak? Because what does Balak show? That the greatest brachas of the Yidden came in Parshas Balak, which is the ultimate level of his sapcha, of Mahapich Klippa to Kedusha.
Wow.